It is time to load some Precision 300 PRC. Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. In this video, I'm going to give you an end-to-end look at the setup that I've put together to load Precision 300 PRC loads for my full custom 300 PRC long-range rifle. This is going to be just a little bit different. It's kind of an updated, across-the-board look at the entire process that I'm going right now through to do OCW load development, and it's going to be the same process I use for my super precision long-range rounds. So the first thing I did was to take some previously fired brass and I wiped down the necks. That is a bit simple and dirty way to clean your cases. I'm doing these in batches of 5, so I'm just firing the cases, wiping off the necks, then it's time to anneal. So this is my annealing machine. It's an Annealing Made Perfect Amp Mark II. And I've got a number 31 pilot. If you have an older machine, there's actually a software update that you need to apply as a patch in order for it to recognize the code, which is 31B. And what I did was I ran an analyze pass on a 300 PRC case, the exact spec of case that we're using here, because the properties of the brass, the thickness, all of that is a factor for it to calculate what the heat settings need to be. Here's an annealed case using our generated code, which is 159. That looks good. So we're going to take our 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC shell holder here that I stole off of the single stage press. We use the amp holder and then hit start. So we're doing a pass of 5 here. And what I'm doing is I'm doing 5 and then I'm shooting them, and I'm chronographing them, and I'm looking at group size for this OCW testing. And I like to load them in batches of 5. I've got everything here on site, which is great. And that allows me to make slight adjustments if that's something I want to do, if I'm not liking the results that I'm getting with a particular group, based on seating depth, based on powder charge, and so on and so forth. So this is a very fast process, and it allows us to optimize the hardness of the brass so that we get good sizing, good consistent neck tension, which should equate to very consistent standard deviation. Let those cool, on to the next step. So for these loads, I'm just full length sizing with the Hornady standard 2-die kit. I've also added the micrometer seating stem to the standard Hornady bullet seating die. We'll show that in just a minute. And for the setup of the sizer die, what I've done is taken the Hornady headspace comparator tool. We're going to take one of these previously fired and annealed cases and get a 0. You can see I just tested the first one through here. Okay, I'm using Imperial case sizing wax. I've put a little on the inside of the neck and rubbed some on the body here. I'm going to go all the way up, and there we go. The Mech Marksman, which I'm using here, is a great press for 300 PRC because it's got a really generous opening. 300 PRC has a maximum cartridge overall length of 3.7 inches. It's very long. I might have mine up to like 3.750, somewhere around there. So I need some flexibility, and this press is great. It's got the floating shell holder design, which is a patented feature. I've also got the Hornady lock and load bushing conversion kit here. Really like this setup. So back to our sizing check. Now we can take the headspace comparator and see where we're at. Do you see that -1? That is absolute perfection. That's exactly where I want my shoulder to be. Just sized enough to give ample room in terms of headspace. We should get really consistent velocities with these now that we've annealed them. There we go. On to the next step. So I just took a rag and wiped the excess lube from the outside of the cases. And what I've got here is the Primal Rights Competition Primer Cedar. A guy named Greg Dykstra designs this. He CNC machines these to very exacting specifications. And it's really the only priming system with a hard stop that you can control the primer depth within 1/1000th of an inch. You can hear little clicks there. Those are 1/1000th of an inch clicks. Uses the same shell holders as all of the Lee hand priming tools and the Lee bench priming tool, and I've gotten exceptional results here. We're using Federal 215 large magnum rifle primers, and each time we're going to flick the handle to get a new primer into position, Make sure that we've got a good depth. I can feel that is spot on there. This is both fast and precise, and it gives you all the leverage that you're going to need. These Hornady primer pockets are really tight, so it's very nice to have a dedicated high leverage machine to go through this priming operation. Okay, on to the next step. Time to dispense powder charges. And what I have here is the Auto Trickler V3 system. This is a precision-oriented automated powder dispensing system that can get you accurate to 0.02 grains in about 10 seconds. I've got my charge weight entered already. We're using Ramshot Magnum. I've developed a custom load without load data for that. Sits right between H1000 and Rotumbo, so it was a pretty straightforward thing to look at. All we have to do is put the cup on the pan here, and if it's zeroed out properly, it's going to go ahead and start dispensing our powder charges. And done. Let's eat some bullets. We're back at the Mech Marksman, and it's time to take the sizing die and exchange that for the seating die. And what I did for my bullet seating depth was I used my modified case. Just published a video on this as well, how to make one if you have a metal lathe. We put a bullet into the modified case. We insert the entire assembly into the chamber of the rifle with the bolt removed. Loosen the lock nut, push forward on the gray rod until the ogive of the bullet presses up against the rifling. Lock it, pull it out, knock the bullet out if we need to. Now we have a reference for what the seating depth needs to be for the bullet at the lands, and you're going to probably want to seat deeper than that. So we're going to take each of these cases, and this is where we have plenty of room, and there's a little plunger here on these Hornady dies, which is great because it basically guides the bullet up as you're going to go ahead and do the seating operation. It keeps everything in alignment. So all we have to do is push up and into the center of that stem, go ahead and do the seating operation, and then the tip of the bullet is going to be basically held captive by this sleeve. All we have to do is push it up, pull out the cartridge. This is a very long cartridge, and that is a very minor inconvenience, I would say, when it comes to seating bullets. You could use a press with a larger frame opening, but I find it totally unnecessary. This is a great setup. The larger the frame opening, the larger the stroke of the ram, and this is just a little bit more efficient than that. But you're going to want to check your press to make sure that you have adequate frame opening clearance. And if you want all of that information in one place, I would suggest that you take a look at my 14 single stage press reloading mega blowout video and article. It's got all of that data in table form. We are done. We've got some great looking cartridges here, and I'm going to be out to the range to continue with my OCW testing. I can't wait to shoot these cartridges, and my precision reloading setup here is very close to what I expect the final form to be. I'm still waiting on a couple things. I'd like to try some different types of dies, maybe the Forster bushing bump die, neck only sizing die, that kind of thing. And I'm also waiting for Wilson Tools and Gauges, to introduce their case gauge for 300 PRC. Since we use the headspace comparator and since we know exactly what the shoulder bump is, that's going to suffice for now. And you can also chamber a sized case to feel if there's any resistance and to make sure that it's going to be appropriate from a headspace perspective. Lots more coming up in the 300 PRC and 6.5 PRC content series. This is going to be absolutely the most comprehensive set of resources for the PRC cartridges, bar none. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications. If you have something specific that you'd like to see, please let me know by dropping a comment. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, happy shooting and happy reloading.